And that's what these talks and that's what today's all going to be about. The title of today's message is At Once. Turn to the person next to you, give them a little elbow, maybe to wake them up and tell them at once. Come on, let me hear you tell them at once. Local City Online, at once. 2 words that I pray that you leave with today, that when they ask you, hey, what'd you talk about at your church? I don't know, the pastor just kept saying at once over and over again. No, I know you're going to know why we're talking about this. Because it's an invitation into a response that I believe can be more than just 2 words, but really should be a posture of our heart in our relationship with Jesus, in our faith journey, that when God calls us to something or invites us to something new, our response is at once. And we're going to be reading from one of my favorite Gospels. We're going to be reading from the Gospel of Mark today. I love the Gospel of Mark because it's the shortest Gospel. It's like short and sweet. It's straight to the point. I love talking with people when they just get straight to the point, right? You ever have someone tell you a story and it takes them 10 minutes and they're still telling a story, but you're like, I don't really know what the point of this story is. Can we get to the meat and heart of the issue? Like you've described what you were wearing at that restaurant. Tell me what happened at the restaurant, all right? That's kind of what Mark does. Mark is like, hey, let's get to the point. Let me tell you exactly what you need to know. Let me tell you exactly what Jesus said and did with an at-once approach. You're going to see that in the story today. And I invite you today to really step into here is what Jesus is asking you to do. I know sometimes in our relationship with God and as we're figuring out what we believe about Jesus, we can wonder, okay, what's God saying? Well, I'm about to tell you what he's saying. If I can be so bold, I'm about to tell you what he's speaking to you in your life right now. And we get this from Mark chapter 1, starting in verse 16. It'll be up on the screen. You can read it in your Bible along with me. It says this, Mark chapter 1, verse 16. One day, as Jesus was walking along the shore of the Sea of Galilee, he saw Simon and his brother Andrew throwing a net into the water, for they fished for a living. Jesus called out to them, here's the important phrase for the day, come follow me, and I will show you how to fish for people. And they left their nets at once and followed him. A little farther up the shore, Jesus saw Zebedee's sons, James and John, in a boat repairing their nets. And he called to them at once. And they also followed him, leaving their father Zebedee in the boat with the hired men. Just so we're all on the same page, I'm going to count to 3. We're all going to say at once together. Ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. At once. Nice. You guys sound excited, all right, about this today. But that is really the phrase I want you to see in this story. Let's give the context, okay? So Jesus walking by the Sea of Galilee. He is about to start his ministry here on earth. He has learned about God. He knows who he is. He's the Son of God, here to live out the call of God on his life and invite other people to know it as well. He has been baptized. He is ready to go. But he knows that he can't do this alone, even the Son of God. I mean, he's all-powerful, but he knows the power of community and surrounding himself with people that work together to bring the good news of the gospel to those around him. And so he's walking by the Sea of Galilee, and it's a big scene, okay? So if you study Jewish history, there's a guy by the name of Josephus who tells us that every morning at the Sea of Galilee, there were close to 240 boats out there on the sea fishing. A lot of people did that for a living. And so Jesus is walking through these boats and he's scanning the crowd, and he stops first at a boat by the guys of the name of Andrew and Simon. Simon's name would eventually be changed to Peter by Jesus. And he shouts out to them and says, hey, come follow me. And again, what is the phrase? They at once left the boat, got out of the boat, dropped their nets, and began to follow Jesus. Jesus continues to walk down the bank a little bit. Then he sees some other brothers by the names of James and John. Says, hey, come follow me. I will make you fishers of men. I will show you how to fish for people, which is really just speaking to the purpose of their life and what they're going to do. And they, again, leave their dad Zebedee, great name. They get out of the boat. They start following Jesus. And that moment would change their life forever. And let me give you some context of how important this phrase is, come follow me. Now, in English, that just sounds like another phrase, but the original phrase is a really intentional invitation that meant a lot culturally at that time. So most Jewish guys, they grew up and they were first placed in rabbi school, which means they were learning everything about what they called the Torah, the law. They would memorize it. They had tests, all these different things. And there were different levels of where only the best of the best would move on. And the last stage of the best would be that the rabbis of that school would go and pick 1 to 2 young boys, and they would say, you have proven yourself, you've done the work, I want you to now come follow me. It was the greatest thing that they could hear at that point, because if they heard that, they were able to follow the rabbi, and that was their destiny. If they didn't hear that, then they were going to fish or going to find another kind of practical way of life. And it really, just like in our own life, not hearing that brings rejection into our identity, right? Now, I've done some things in my life that you open yourself up to rejection, right? I'm not just talking about, asking the girl for her number rejection, which I feel like, come on, man, all these dating apps, they really took out how hard that is, right? I had to grow up where you got rejected. Nope. That's hard to go through, right? But I remember also, trying out for sports teams, and I did theater in high school, right? Trying to audition and make the list of all the actors that would be in the play. You open yourself up to rejection like this, where you walk up to the door of the gym or the door of the theater, and that list that, the parts of the play or the new team roster has been placed on the door, and you walk up and you just pray to the Lord that your name, please let my name be up there, right? And I've had moments where my name is up there. Yes, thank God. I've had moments where you scan your finger, your name's not up there, and you go into depression and counseling as a 13-year-old because you feel like your life's over because you didn't make the soccer team. Just some brutal honesty of what I thought back then, right? I remember in high school going up to the call sheet for what parts were given, and you'd be excited if you got the lead role, or you'd be like, oh no, I'm not on it at all, or I'm just going to be in the background in the chorus. No, that's no fun, right? We open ourselves up to rejection because we understand what it means to be accepted into something or to see our hard work pay off. And it was the same for these men. So they had not heard, come follow me. If you know anything about the story of Peter, which is he's called Simon right here in this story, of course he wasn't the best of the best. He was an angry, messed up dude. But he did have one thing that anytime Jesus said, hey, come do this, he was the first one to do it. And so we see Jesus say this phrase that would mean so much to these men. Hey, I know you feel like you've been rejected. I know it feels like your work and what you've been doing is meaningless. But this morning, today, as I'm standing on the shores of the Sea of Galilee, I invite you to come follow me. To come know the purpose that you have that is greater than anything you could ever achieve or learn on this earth. It is a heavenly, divine purpose that comes from your heavenly Father. And I would ask you today, as we relate that to ourselves, the context of what that is saying to Andrew and Simon and James and John, the invitation is still the same to this day, that Jesus is standing on the bank of our life, shouting to us, hey, come follow me, and I want to do something great in your life and through your life, and you can't do it without me, because I want you to follow me, and I want to help you see who you really are as a son and daughter of God. The greatest thing I need you to realize today, local city, here in this room and watching online, is that where Jesus is calling you is better than where you are right now. I want you to write that down this morning. Where Jesus is calling you is better than where you are. Now, for some of us, we'd be like, oh, thank God, because where I'm at right now is horrible. For others of us, we're like, well, where I'm at right now is pretty good. Job's good, life's good. Well, that may be the case. But I just want you to know where Jesus is calling you is better. And I know that because Jesus promises us that the life that he has for us is better than we could possibly ask or imagine or even dream of. It's way better than just getting everything that we ever wanted. It's getting everything that we ever needed and being opened up to things that we never thought we could things we can't even do on our own. It's the power of God moving in us and through us. The biggest thing I need you to hear, local city, today is just like these men in their boats and their fisher nets and things that they said is they realized Jesus is calling me to something better. I pray that I could do a good job today of helping you see the promise, the truth, the fact that where Jesus is calling you is better than where you are. Come on, let me know that you believe that today. Let me know you're out there. Come on. And the behavior change is this, is that to change, you have to believe where you're going is better than where you are. If we don't believe that, why would we ever go anywhere, right? If I don't think where I'm going is better than where I'm at, why would I even want to go there? Why would I want to take the time commitment and the investment and the work and the surrendering and the time? Why would I want to do that if I don't even believe where I'm going is better than where I'm at? I need you to understand that to fully change, you have to begin to believe at the deepest part of your soul that where Jesus is taking you is better. That will cause you to say no to the things that you've been holding on to say no to your past, and to start running towards your future that Jesus has prepared for you. But it will also keep you engaged. It will help you persevere. Just like these men did. Listen, Jesus says, come follow me, and I will help you. I will show you how to fish for people. It didn't happen overnight. If you ever want to feel good about yourself, read the Gospels and read how many times these guys would mess up. Like, they would mess up a lot of times. But they made the one decision, the one commitment that is so important for us today is that when Jesus said, come follow me, they just made the decision to keep following him. See, this understanding of at once is not, hey, say yes to Jesus, and at once all your prayers will be answered, everything will go great, all your problems will go away. I wish I could tell you that, but that just isn't the reality of life, and that isn't the reality of what Jesus has promised us. What he's promised us is, hey, if you would simply at once make the decision today to come follow me, over time, through the process, you will become someone you don't even recognize that has power and strength from your Heavenly Father. That over time, you will begin to walk in a forgiveness and freedom that you never thought possible. That over time, you will begin to see things happen in your life and through your life, like building churches in Africa and leading a church and having a strong marriage and beautiful kids and living out your purpose that makes a difference in the lives of others. Over time, you will see God keeps his promises. You will see that making the decision to follow Jesus day in and day out is the best commitment and decision you could ever make in your life. Do you hear me today? Come on, come on, come on. Like 60%. I'll get the other 40 by the time we end, all right? Let me give you 3 elements of what these guys do, how important it is in this idea of at once. If we could break it down to 3 decision points this morning, the first one is to start now. If it's important enough to do tomorrow, it's important enough to do today. The reason it's so easy to say, I'll do that tomorrow, is because tomorrow doesn't exist. So making that choice is just kind of saying, well, yeah, maybe. But what if you were to make the decision, I've been invited to follow Jesus. And I know Scripture promises me that all things work together to those who have answered the call of Jesus. Doesn't mean I'm going to walk through an easy life or a pain-free life, but I know that if I start now, the possibility of what Jesus can do in my life and through my life is amazing and unimaginable. That truly the best is yet to come. It doesn't mean the present isn't difficult, but I believe the best is yet to come. I'm going to choose to start now. A quote I've heard before is the greatest day to plant a tree is yesterday. Because you planted it now, and you get to see its growth. My son right now, he has a little project from school where he's planted some seeds in some little dirt cups, and we're beginning to see the sprouts pop up out of that dirt. And he's so excited every day to check on the progress of those seeds and see how the sunlight and how the soil and how the water has begun to break apart this seed into something beautiful. Can I encourage you today? I wish, again, I could tell you that, hey, at once all those things will be solved. But no, at once you can start following Jesus, and through the progress and the journey, you'll begin to see him move in and through your life. I mean, listen, the disciples took a long time. They walked with Jesus for 3 years and still messed up. But through that journey, Jesus was able to teach them things and show them things. And the idea is that it all starts from this one moment where at once they got out of the boat, they dropped their nets, and they began following Jesus. What are you putting off that you could start today? If you're praying, I want a healthy marriage, I want a healthy family, I want to know the purpose, or I just want to step into the calling that Jesus has for me, can I encourage you to eliminate the word tomorrow from that and just start today? Do you want to know the 2 worst words you can have in your faith journey with Jesus? Someday and almost. Someday I'll do that. Someday I'll swing by Next Steps and jump on a circle. Someday I'll do that. Or, I almost started, generosity. I almost started doing that, but man, some things came up and, I almost did it. I'm just going to tell you that no one wins with those phrases. If you eliminate those, it's amazing what you'll begin to see Jesus doing in your life. I'm going to start today. I'm going to take that first step. I'm going to take that first step into the calling that Jesus is inviting me into. At once, I'm going to trust him. You got to start now. And all of our nows are different, but we got to start now. We got to start today. Second piece is this. We've got to choose to let go. Change requires you to let go. Change requires you to let go of your past and let go of your worries and begin to move forward. One of the most powerful phrases in this story is that the disciples not only got out of their boats, but they let go of their nets. They let go of the nets they were holding, right? And just to show you how I have no experience in fishing, someone came up to me after first service and said, hey, just so you know, that's not a net for fish, it's a net for crabs. I'm like, see? And I should not be talking about fishing, but I can talk about your faith journey. I can talk about what it means to let go of these things. Because you know what the net ultimately symbolizes, Local City, for you and I? It symbolizes that we need to let go of control. When I hold this net, I'm in control. I get to choose when I'm going to dip it down under the water and see what comes up. Sometimes there's going to be fish, but sometimes there's going to be nothing. But I'm still in control, so I get to do it my way. I get to dip the net in when I want to, when it fits my schedule, when it works with my plans. But I just want to let you know that you're never going to step into that fulfilling life as a fisher of people, as a purpose-driven son and daughter of God until you choose to let go of control. Because what the temptation of control is yeah, I may not be successful, but at least I'm in control. I may not be, really living that life that Jesus had, but at least I'm in control, and control is nice. It's a temptation that, number one, promises a falsehood because actually we're not in control. Because life is difficult, this world's a big place. And so for Andrew and Simon and James and John, they had to not only get out of their boats and start today, they had to let go. They had to let go of their past. They had to let go of their, the family profession. They had to let go of relationships so that they could one-on-one follow Jesus. Can I encourage you today, Local City, whatever your net is, honestly, whatever your net is and whatever you're hoping to catch in this net. Some of us are hoping to catch success or relationships or a new purpose in life or that one thing we've been praying for. We're hoping to catch these things, but I just want to let you know the more that we try to be in control and keep dipping those nets in and trying to get what we want, the more we're just going to end up frustrated because the at-once freedom is knowing that once I let go and lay down my nets, that's when Jesus can place in my hands the things that he has for me. Because here's the thing. If I'm holding on to something else, my hands aren't free to take hold of the things Jesus has for me. If there's already something in my hands, Jesus is not going to try and give me something. It's only when I let go and let God and lay down my nets, lay down control, and say, Jesus, whatever you have, that's what I want. And there's two scenarios in the story that we see. So Jesus walks by Simon and Andrew, right? Says they're just kind of hanging in the boat. Not good fishermen. Like, they're just not good at it. Nothing going on. Just hanging in there. Like, I know I'm not a good fisherman. Like, if you like to fish, I'll just come hang with you in the boat because that sounds cool. But I don't have the patience. I don't have that. I just can't do it, right? That's why I bought a crab net and not a fish net. That's how much I know, right? But Jesus continues. So maybe that's your scenario. You're like, man, I just feel like I'm not good at anything. I feel like I have no purpose right now. I feel like life is a mess. Maybe you feel like you're just sitting in the boat and nothing's happening in your life. But Jesus keeps walking down and he finds James and John. And they're having to repair their nets because the good work they're doing. Like, they're catching fish, man, so much that it's breaking their nets, and they're of use, and they're having to repair this thing to keep working and keep moving forward. But Jesus tells them, hey, you're having some earthly success right now. Your nets are working, but there's something better out there, and I want to invite you to come follow me and see the better that I have for you. See, they had to realize that, yes, we have success in our hands, but that does not compare to the purpose that Jesus is trying to give us and the life that he's trying to lead us into. So we want to let go of this too and realize that where Jesus is taking me is better than where I'm at. You got to start today. You got to let go. And the third one is you got to get going. Change follows action. So change what you're doing. The definition of insanity is this: doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So, if you're wondering, why do I keep having these same results? It might be because we're doing the same thing over and over again. And we have to realize that it's time to change what I'm doing. Listen, we are saved by everything that Jesus has already done for us because of his death and resurrection on the cross. The forgiveness and freedom that we have because of him is nothing that we could earn. But we have to understand it's been given to us freely, not just so that we can lay back and not do anything with it, but so that we can keep following him and trusting him and moving forward. As we begin to finish up today, can I give you something to write down that I believe can drastically change your journey with Jesus and your relationship with him? Here it is. Following Jesus is a one-time decision with a daily commitment. Following Jesus is a one-time decision, but with a daily commitment. You know what I'm learning about my life? Is that time only moves one direction, and unfortunately is forward. I wish I could take a little magical remote and pause some moments in my life and just let my kids be this age for like a long time, but I can't do that. You know, we were talking about apps on our phones earlier. I have this app on my phone that I've had forever called Time Hop, and it kind of shows you posts and photos like from your different social media channels and from your camera roll. Sometimes I go back on things I posted on Facebook when I was like 20, and I'm like, man, what a loser. Like the things that you were posting on your, and you can judge me, it's okay, but probably yours will be the same, right? We just post silly things, like things we thought were important, right? Like Facebook used to have it where it had is after your name. I remember like Ryan is hungry. Like what a stupid thing to post, right? Like just silly. So I'm glad I've grown, but also what it does is it shows you moments. And again, I have a 6-year-old that's about to be 7. I have a 2-year-old that's about to turn 3. And one of the time hops that popped up this week that I sent to Adrian, and she was like, please stop sending me these things. It makes me sad. Was a little video of Shepard. It was his first day of school, of preschool. And he's running into school with his car's backpack on, and he's got that super high, hey, let's go, it's Princeville School Day, yeah. And I run through like a bunch of leaves, and he's like, Daddy, why'd you run through all those leaves? Don't do that. And he's got a beautiful smile on his face. He's so little. And I realized in that moment, he's never going to be that little again. He's never going to have that little high voice again. It's now deep, you know, like his dad's now, right? And spiritually, I want you to understand, like, time moves one direction. So today is the day to make that daily commitment. Some of us were frustrated in our relationship with Jesus, and we see others like seeing God move and seeing them step into some purpose and calling of like, how did you do that? It's because we've settled for leaving it a one-time decision and we have not stepped into the daily commitment yet. For some of us, maybe we've been coming to church for years, but in that year's journey of going to church, we've really only gone to level 1 like every year. And any time it steps into something where we've got to make that at-once decision, we revert back to the beginning again. And we start all over and we get frustrated. Can I let you know today that yes, saying yes to Jesus was a one-time decision, but it was for a daily commitment. Jesus didn't say to the guys in the boats, to Andrew and Simon and James and John, hey, just make the decision to follow me, then you can go back to fishing. No, he said this is going to be a life change decision. It's going to be a new direction for your life. It's going to be a new journey, and you're going to follow me. And yeah, it may be difficult, but through the power of God, we're going to change the world. And you know, we're going to lay the groundwork for something that 2,000 years later, there's still going to be followers of Jesus all over the world gathering together in this thing that we call the church, where lives are changed, forgiveness and freedom happen, marriages are restored, miracles happen. And it happened because not they made a one-time decision, but they said yes to follow Jesus, and every day they woke up and made that decision again to commit to Jesus. Come on, can we be a church local city that is daily committed to Jesus and following him? It's a resource we have called The First 15. If you want to know more about it, I'll tell you all about it at Next Steps. Where the first 15 minutes of your day are that daily commitment of realigning your mind and heart and soul to the Word of God, to prayer, and to worship. I love this parable as we close today, Matthew 13:44. The kingdom of heaven is like a treasure, meaning it has value, that a man discovered hidden in a field. I would love for these next 3 words to be the description of local city and of the relationship you have with Jesus in his excitement. Please don't hear what I'm not saying. I'm not trying to get you to do some religious thing or do some have-tos. I want you to know that what you have found, what you've been invited to, is a treasure. It's valuable. It's incredible. And in our excitement, what happens? That he hid the treasure again, and he sold everything he owned to get enough money to buy the field. What do we see in Mark's gospel of Simon and Andrew and James and John? Why did they make the decision? It's because they knew where they were going was better than where they were at. Why does this man sell everything to buy a field? I mean, he found the treasure. Why would he go pay for something that he didn't have to? It's because he was so excited, and because he knew this, the treasure of Jesus. He knew, write this down, that Jesus is that good. Why would these four men follow Jesus daily even when it got difficult? It's because Jesus is that good. Why would we continue following Jesus one step after the other through the difficult times, through the dangerous times, through the painful times? It's because I'm here to tell you today, Local City, here and watching online, that Jesus is that good. He is that amazing. He is that great of a friend. He is that powerful. He is that loving. He is that honest, that truthful. He is that good at keeping his promises that you will never regret the day that you gave everything, that at-once commitment to Jesus. I promise you, you will not regret it. I don't regret it one day because I know Jesus is that good. I've learned the treasure that this man found is that realizing living in God's kingdom, living in his kingdom is, again, better than where you're currently at. No matter how bad it is currently, or how good it is currently, or how ho-hum it is currently, where God is taking you is better. Can I tell you today as well that doing things and doing life God's way is better than your own way? I've just learned that, man. I like to, sometimes my way is easy, but my way also hurts. My way also causes me to go in circles. My way causes me to waste time. I'm inviting you to do life God's way, and the last thing is this, as we close, is just to understand there's nothing like bringing people to Jesus. There's just nothing like it. I think about the story in this parable with the man that found the treasure. He goes and hides it. Then he pays the cost he didn't have to pay. He already found the treasure, but he goes and pays to buy the entire field. Why did he do that? Here's why I think he did that. What the Gospels are trying to tell us is he wanted to be able to take anybody on that property anytime he wanted. He wanted to be able to go on that property anytime he wanted. He bought the whole field because people would say, hey man, why did you sell everything that you had to buy this field? He says, you want to know why? I'll show you. Come check this out. And he brings them onto his property. That little marking stone maybe where he hid that treasure, and he begins to dig out this treasure and says, here's why. And the response, oh, wow, yeah, that was so worth it. Thank you for bringing me onto this property so that I could see the treasure. Can I touch that for myself? Can I experience it for myself? Of course, about the whole field. See, Jesus didn't just come for a tiny little thing. He came for a whole field so that each individual can experience the love and hope that Jesus has to offer. And can I tell you, property's already been purchased because of Jesus. Here it is. Here's the field. You each are the treasure. You found that personal treasure in giving your life to Jesus. And do you know what being a fisher of people is like? It's going out into the world and people saying, how do you keep moving forward? How are you so excited even during difficult times? How do you have hope when things seem hopeless? And they say, and you tell them, hey, let me come show you. And you go to that little hole in the ground and you open up your life, you open up your heart to them, and you say, here's why. And they begin to see what Jesus has done in your life. My prayer is that we would be a church that at once follows Jesus and at once invites people to join us on the journey. We are leading up to the Easter season already, and I want to invite you to practice with me over these next 6 weeks. As you leave today, on the right side of the hallway, you'll see a key rack. And next to the key rack is a jar of these little key tags here, and there's some permanent markers there. As we close today, I would love for you to commit to praying for that person that you're inviting to come to Easter. And again, we're not doing this to say, biggest Easter ever, woohoo. I mean, that'd be awesome, but it's really because every person that's invited, every number that walks through that door is more than a number. Every number has a name, every name has a story, and every story matters to God. Your story matters to God. Their story matters to God. And on these next 6 weeks, we're going to mention this every day, but I would encourage you to go grab a tag. And who's that family member? Who's that coworker? Who's that friend? Who's that parent on your kid's team or kid's class that needs the hope of Jesus? And I want you to write their name down on this tag. And I want you to place it on the key rack, and We're going to be praying over it. We're going to be lifting it up. And maybe on Easter Sunday or maybe even a Sunday before that. They can come on a Sunday before that. Don't tell them, hey, you got to wait for Easter. It's what Pastor said. No. Come any Sunday. When you walk in that door with them, I want you to go over to that key rack and take their name off the hook and say, hey, I just want you to know, not only have we been inviting you, but this is more than an event. This is a treasure. This is a life-changing thing. We've been praying for you, and we wrote your name down on this thing, and I wrote your name down on this thing because I want you to know that Jesus knows your name. He knows your story, and I just want you to know the life that he has for you. I want to encourage you not to rush out today and take a moment to do that, because we are here to at once follow Jesus, be a fisher that brings people into the journey as well. And there's nothing like it. There is nothing better. Would you bow your heads and close your eyes with me today, Local City?